So a lot of different genres of games have a competitive mode. You could say getting a high score in an arcade game, yeah, that's kind of competitive. You could say that playing 1v1 in a fighting game, that's competitive. You could say playing 5-man in League of Legends, that's pretty competitive as far as the team sport goes. But one game that I've always thought is very competitive, but also really hard to get into, has been Overwatch. And today I want to talk about why I personally think it's one of the harder games to get good at compared to other games. Now, I'm not really going to be talking about, I guess, the skill curve, because that could be arguable playing Overwatch compared to other games, but mainly talking about, I guess, the player base, talking about how you have to interact with the game to get better, and talking about how it is kind of a pain in the butt to get better at Overwatch and team shooters like that compared to some other types of video games. With that all said though, guys, let's get started. So I'm going to start right here by talking, I guess, about myself with another game that's going to be a fighting game, because that's mainly the other genre I like to play. You know, I like a lot of Overwatch competitive, I grind that a lot, but on the side, I play a lot of fighting games. I play a lot of games like Dragon Ball FighterZ, Street Fighter, and mainly a lot of Super Smash Bros. Now, of course, that is debatably a fighting game, but I'm going to assume that it is because that's how I played it. 1v1 format, all of that. Now, the one thing that I noticed, the biggest difference when I'm talking about a fighting game and Overwatch, is that it's very hard, at least for me, to get extremely motivated in Overwatch. And I think this is one of the reasons for me, and for a lot of players, it's hard to keep going. Because in a fighting game, when you pick that up, you know that you are the player that's going to be going into that round, that's going to be showing off their skill versus the enemy's skill, and there's going to be a victor. And I mean, you can blame certain things like the map, you can blame your character, you can blame, you know, the way that RNG works in the game, I guess. But in general, I mean, there aren't way too many different factors that you can't account for, and in most cases, you kind of have to take that, you know, blame on yourself. And you, in a lot of cases, see what you did wrong. In a lot of cases, you see what you can improve on. In a lot of cases, at least for me, it gave me a ton of motivation to keep getting better, because I'd play 1v1 versus somebody else that's way better than me. Maybe I'm playing Ike, maybe they're playing Bayonetta, I get stomped. Well, there's some new thing I have to focus on, some new way to play against this character, and I think fighting games are really good for motivating that. But in a game like Overwatch, I think it's very difficult in a lot of cases to get motivated. Now, one of the biggest motivators is getting a better rank, because, you know, you want to get to gold, you want to get to diamond, you want to get to grandmaster. Those are the main reasons why I get motivated, to try to, I guess, show off to other people how good I am at the game. But as far as, you know, in-game motivations, it's very hard, because in a game like Overwatch, there are, I'm going to say right here, a lot of uncontrollable factors. You have random teammates that are picking up random characters with random players on random mains with random roles on your team, random players on the enemy team, and overall, I mean, whenever you go into a game, a lot of times it feels more like you're rolling the dice, seeing what you're getting, and then trying to up your odds the highest that you can by, you know, playing really well, compared to a fighting game where you can win almost every single game if you are extremely good. Overall, I'm going to say right here that I just think this is a game that's difficult to get motivated in, and I think that is a big reason why it's hard to get good at the game. I think it's not way too hard to improve at the game and to, you know, have a lot of fun with the game, but as far as sitting down, grinding it, it's a little difficult. And I think one big reason I'm going to say here why it's difficult is because there's so many different matchups in the game. There's so many different ways that the game can interact, and every single different character that you replace completely changes the game. Like, let's say, for example, one match you have a Mei on your team, and everyone else is playing the same character. Well, that's completely different from how it'll play to having a match with like a Tracer on your team for the DPS slot. Because one match, you're going to have to be diving in a lot more, you're going to be have to playing around her picks a lot more, and waiting for the Tracer to do a lot of work, while the other one, you're going to be having to try to engage with the Mei a lot more. And overall, I think learning the matchups, not just for, I guess, you know, the game in general, but having to learn how every single character in the entire game interacts with each other all at the same time, how they all combine, that's a lot more difficult to get into and to get good at learning and get good at improving than, you know, picking up your character. Let's say like you're somebody that likes to play a lot of Mario, and somebody that you're playing against a lot likes to play a lot of Link. Well, in that situation, I mean, you can easily see the matchups, you can easily see what to improve on, how it's working out, but again, comparing it to a game like Overwatch, where it's just so complicated in so many ways, you can see how it's kind of hard to get better at the game, and how in a lot of ways it feels like you aren't even exactly improving, because I mean, one game you might have somebody like, let's say, a Tracer, and the next game a Mei. Well, does your Tracer knowledge really help you with your Mei knowledge? Kind of, but also kind of not. And I feel like, especially in a fighting game, comparing those two, a lot of the times playing against, you know, a random character in a fighting game feels like it improves you more as a player, while playing against a random person in a game like Overwatch really improves just your matchup against that certain character. I don't know, maybe that's just me, but I think that is a good, not good, I think that is just a big reason why it feels so hard to improve at this game. Now, something else I'm going to mention right here is that in a game like Overwatch, you have to learn every single role. Otherwise, you are put at a big disadvantage. And I know a lot of people don't learn every single role. I know a lot of people will only play DPS, and that's fine. But when you compare, again, a fighting game to a game like Overwatch, in Overwatch competitive, if you want your highest chance to win, really you should be good at every single character, and not even every single character. You should just be good at least one character at every role so that you can fit in every single team comp, play well in that way, and that's kind of how the game's designed. While in a fighting game, I mean, you pick your one main character, maybe two, because your main character gets countered quite a bit by somebody, and that's about it. And I think overall there is a lot of pressure to just, I guess, do a lot in a game like Overwatch. And I know that the majority of players just kind of ignore this pressure and just, you know, play their solo DPS because they want to and just one trick. But it does put you at a pretty good disadvantage. And as you see, a lot of these players do have hundreds of hours on this character to just, you know, eventually get enough matches where their character works fine. And overall, I think that does put a difficult situation into Overwatch's cogs. Essentially what it does is that it makes it that the player base has to play a huge different amount of characters, but in a lot of cases, people don't exactly want to play those characters. And in a lot of cases, well, that may be forcing you to play against someone that you don't want to play, that may be making the game a little bit boring, and it's again very difficult to get motivated to play every single role in the game, especially when you only like one. And I think that's why a lot of people have a hard time, you know, getting good at the game, because your choices are either to, you know, flex and have to learn a lot of roles that you don't like, or on the other hand, one trick and don't really fit into the game. Either way, they aren't that good of answers, and it's hard to force yourself to become good enough where you can finally one trick with any single team comp and do well, because it's just not that fun to have to do that, honestly. And you know, some people enjoy that, but for a lot of people, it is just kind of frustrating. Now, speaking of one other thing I'm going to say right here, I feel like Overwatch is just kind of hard to improve because it doesn't feel as personal. And this is just the case with every single online game. That's going to be, of course, but I feel like Overwatch in particular doesn't feel that personal because there's no guild system type of thing. There's no real huge, I mean, there's a friends list, but there's no real thing connecting you to other players or connecting you to people to actually talk about the characters and improve the game. In general, what the community does is just, in game, complain about you doing bad. and that's kind of it. And I feel like a lot of people are just kind of unwilling to actually help you improve in this game. I mean, if you go into a game competitive and ask for help, do you think anyone's going to actually care and try to help you? In most cases, probably no. But on the other case, let's say that you're playing a game of Super Smash Bros. Melee and you just lost 3 games against somebody that you met online or that you met in person. I think in a lot more cases, people are willing to sit down, spend some time, tell you what you did wrong, and maybe, on the other hand, you can tell them what they did wrong. And I guess a problem about this is that just by having so many players on the field at all time, it's even hard to tell who's doing what, and hard to help other people, and hard to help, you know, your opponent improve. But as well, I think that, yeah, there's just not nearly as much connection and as much reason to help other people. And I wish that there could be more of that, because I think that was probably one of the biggest things that helped me improve at a game like Smash Brothers. You know, I could pick up my character, I could play hundreds of games, and other than just looking at what I was doing wrong and what I could notice I was doing wrong, I could get help from others. That doesn't really exist in this game. And I guess it doesn't exist in a lot of games, but maybe that's just a problem with online gaming in general. But I think especially in Overwatch, most people, if all people, won't help you out way too much. The only real way you can get help is either by sending in VOD reviews or getting coaching by paying for it, or looking up some random videos online. All those ways I think aren't quite as exponential. You can't use them for quite as many people as you probably hope, and overall I think that does kind of make it hard for people to improve, hard for people to, I guess, want and seek to improve, because a lot of times it's hard to see what you're doing wrong. And I don't know, maybe that is just my own personal opinion, but I think those are some of the biggest reasons why Overwatch is kind of hard to get good at compared to some other games. I guess mainly comparing it to fighting games and maybe some single player games. and stuff like that. But of course, this does apply to most of the online multiplayer team-based games. So I guess you can take this for League, Dota, anything like that. But I think Overwatch in particular, it's kind of a big case offender, because at least in those games, you can pick a role that you want to play. In Overwatch, you don't even have that opportunity before the game starts. So it's kind of one step even further beyond as far as that goes. But anyways, as always, guys, this has just been my own opinion, and if you have your own opinion, leave it down in the comment section down below. This was a topic I just thought would be interesting to talk about, and maybe it's not the most important topic in the world, but I don't know. I'm trying to come up with as many interesting topics that aren't just the same top 5 video over and over again for 2 years, or the same tip videos. I hope that this was interesting, and again, if it was, leave a like, comment down below what you think, and hit the subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this one in the future. Anyways, as always, guys, though, thank you all for watching, and have a wonderful day.